There's a lot of names throughout NBA history that are linked with each other, meaning if you say one, you automatically expect to hear the other. You say Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell isn't far behind. Mention Larry, and Magic is sure to follow. You mention Kobe or Shaq, and the other is usually going to get brought up as well, but unfortunately most of the time it's for the wrong reasons with these two. What's up NBA fans, it's Dom 2K on the mic, here today to finally set the record straight on the biggest factors that led to the demise of what many consider to be the best 1-2 punch this game has ever seen. To bridge the gap between the small bit of time where MJ retired and LeBron was finally drafted to save the Eastern Conference, there was the Kobe and Shaq duo out west, and they were too much for nearly any team to handle once they started clicking. This duo was able to produce 3 straight championships, make the finals 4 times in 5 years, and amass a 15-1 playoff record in 2001 that is still yet to be matched. This has caused many people to ask what would happen if Kobe and Shaq had stayed together. Now, consensus says that duo had the opportunity for at very least 3 more rings with the potential to win up to 5 more, but as the saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There's been many stories to float around as an explanation to why Kobe and Shaq didn't last. Some people claim Kobe pushed Shaq out of LA, others say Shaq didn't want to be there anymore. But truth be told, there isn't just one single reason this duo didn't last, rather it's a combination of many toxic situations people usually only choose to tell one side of the story of to support whoever they support in this situation. Before we get into those, it's important to understand that what Kobe and Shaq had was called a work beef, meaning all the stories you've heard about them hating each other or not talking to each other for years, they're not totally true. Kobe and Shaq have said numerous times, before and after their departure, that they had much respect for each other as players and as people, but a fact of life is that you just don't get along with everybody you work with. That being said, at times they did give the world reasons to believe they couldn't stand each other, and we'll get into that shortly as well. To start with, from the time these two first played on a team together, they were both alpha males, basically meaning it's my way or the highway. Shaq was a player who liked for the offense to flow through him, and Kobe was a player all too eager to show the world what he could do with his talents. So from the beginning, this duo was doomed to eventually fail because there was no team big enough to accommodate the personalities of 2-star players who wanted to do so much on the court. From the earliest days, this often led to Shaq and other teammates feeling that Kobe was a bit too selfish. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned in another video, this was the feeling that got Phil Jackson interested in trading Kobe to Phoenix for Jason Kidd. The big thing here is that while Shaq was the outgoing character we've all come to know and love, Kobe was more of a reserved, quiet, all business type of character, and that rubbed some of the team the wrong way. But more importantly, it just didn't mesh well with Shaq's personality. So while Kobe believed wholeheartedly in working for hours upon hours in an empty gym, Shaq was perceived as lazy. His philosophy was that he's got people going to him every night because he's the most dominant player in the league, so he wasn't about to give his all in practice and in the game. Instead, he would go half speed in practice while leaving everything on the floor in games. And as you've probably learned from Kobe in the later years, he's got no tolerance for guys who don't work hard. Another factor that caused friction between the two is that during the earliest years of Kobe's career, he wasn't a star quite yet. Shaq, however, was a top player in the league, meaning that if the Lakers lost, he was blamed for it, and this caused him to be impatient with Kobe's maturation into a star player. An underrated factor that helped this dysfunctional relationship become successful for that short time was the hiring of Phil Jackson and his assistant Tex Winter. Jackson made it clear from the start that he wanted the offense to run through Shaq, which was a big reason why in the year 2000 he was able to win his first MVP and put up those monster averages that should have won unanimous MVP. Even with all that success they were enjoying, Shaq would still insist that Bryant was a selfish player, but that's when Tex Winter would show Shaq through presentations that Kobe was doing everything he was supposed to do within the triangle offense to help the team be successful. So despite their differences that year, they were able to win their first NBA title, and you can see many times throughout that run that despite their differences, Shaq and Kobe had come to respect each other enough to do what they needed to do to get it done on the court. Despite this success, for the next season, their relationship would continue to deteriorate, and this time it centered around the duo's differing work ethic I mentioned earlier. Kobe came into the 2001 season having worked extremely hard on his game, and it was apparent for everyone to see. On the other hand, Shaq was being criticized for coming to the season out of shape, meaning the offensive focus wasn't on him quite as much. His slow start hurt the team despite Kobe's amazing play, but he would still work up the nerve to go on and say, quote, "When it was clear that everything went through me, the outcome of it was a record of 67-15, playing with enthusiasm, the city jumping up and down, and a parade. And now we're 23-11, you figure it out. I don't know why anybody else would want to change other than selfish reasons." And this wasn't that fair to say, being that his conditioning made it hard to choose him over Kobe at the time. Kobe clearly felt this way as he said, quote, "Scoring shouldn't affect defense," referencing that his increased offensive role wasn't the problem, rather it was the Lakers and specifically Shaq's lack of defensive effort. Despite these jabs, the Lakers would pull it together to finish with a record of 56-26 as Shaq would begin to accept responsibility over his conditioning and improve his play down the stretch. The result was a playoff record of 15-1 that still stands today as the Lakers would become repeat champions. By the year 2002, things were really clicking and it was beginning to seem as if Kobe and Shaq would coexist forever, as there were little to no problems between the two. The Lakers finished 58-24, swept the Nets in the NBA Finals, and were now looking unstoppable with their third straight championship. But in 2003, Shaq again hurt the team with a bit of a selfish decision. He was dealing with a toe injury that he could have had surgery for during the summer, which would have allowed him to return to the team at full strength. However, Shaq said, quote, "I got hurt on company time, so I'll rehab on company time." This kept Shaq out until the 14th game of the season, and while Kobe played amazing with many killer offensive performances, the Lakers would start that season 11-19. The slow start led to poor seeding, causing them to be ousted from the playoffs by the eventual champion San Antonio Spurs. Although there wasn't much friction between Shaq and Kobe this season either, Shaq's decision to rehab during the season would cause Kobe to later question his leadership in the summer of 2003, where he suggested that the toe injury wasn't that bad and that Shaq just used it as an excuse to cover for his poor conditioning. In the 03-04 season, the duo's relationship would deteriorate past the point of no return. During that offseason, Kobe would be charged with sexual assault in his Colorado case, and he also had knee surgery as well. Meanwhile, the Lakers made key additions by picking up both Karl Malone and Gary Payton. Shaq would later make it clear that he was the key reason for those additions when him and Kobe were feuding in the media again, saying, quote, "Just ask Karl and Gary why they came here. One person, not two, one, period." Bryant warned Phil Jackson before the season that if Shaq started taking jabs at him in the media, he was going to do the same, and that's exactly what Shaq did. Bryant missed the start of training camp due to his off-season troubles, and Shaq proceeded to suggest, quote, "The full team is here." He would again leave Kobe out of his quote, saying he wanted to be healthy for Derek, Karl, and Gary, leaving Kobe Bryant off the team list. O'Neal continued the heavy jabs at Kobe, saying that he should look to pass more until he was 100%. When Kobe retorted that he knew how to play guard and that Shaq should worry about the low post, Shaq agreed, but also said that he was going to say whatever he wanted because the Lakers were his team, adding that if Kobe didn't like it, he should opt out when his contract was up at season end. That was pretty much the last straw for Bryant, who did a very interesting interview with Jim Gray of ESPN that I'm going to link you guys to along with my other sources in the description below the video. The most important parts of this interview was Kobe doing exactly what he told Phil Jackson he was going to do, firing back at Shaq, and he did not pull any kind of punches. He said things like, "It doesn't matter whose team it is, but it is his team, so it's time for him to act like it. That means no more coming into camp fat and out of shape when your team is relying on your leadership on and off the court." When asked if he considered Shaq a leader, he said, quote, "Leaders don't beg for a contract extension and negotiate some $30 million plus per year deal in the media when we have two future Hall of Famers playing here pretty much for free. And that'll become extremely important here soon because Shaq's demands for money were a huge factor in the eventual split." The last critical part to this interview involves Kobe insisting that Shaq was not there for him during the legal troubles. He says that his other teammates, opponents, and even Michael Jordan went out of their way to lend him support for a case that could have totally destroyed not only his basketball career, but his entire life. However, Shaq, who he says was supposed to be like a big brother to him, offered no support and never even bothered to call. Now, I do want to throw in here, just to be fair, that Kobe wasn't exactly a good friend to Shaq either, because he wouldn't invite teammates to his wedding when he got married, and he wouldn't go to team dinners when he was invited, so this was just a little bit of a tit for tat thing right here. Yeah, Shaq didn't offer support, but Kobe didn't exactly. He wasn't really friendly with Shaq or his teammates, so this was kinda to be expected, I guess. Anyways, Bryant was later fined by Jackson for the interview, which was a direct disobedient move to Phil requesting that they both cease public comments about one another. But despite all the nasty things that were said, Kobe and Shaq talked it out before the official season started, trying to fulfill Shaq's promise to Payton and Malone that their feud would officially end in the interest of winning an NBA championship. However, the Lakers would go on to lose that season to the Detroit Pistons after Karl Malone suffered injuries throughout the season and in the finals. That offseason is what ultimately led to the end of Shaq and Kobe. Shaq had made it clear that he wanted to be paid top dollar, and Kobe was in talks with the Los Angeles Clippers during free agency, and the Lakers weren't bringing back Phil Jackson. This was almost like the straw that broke the camel's back for Shaquille O'Neal, because he does go on to say in an interview right after he was traded to the Heat that, you know, you don't make a move like that without telling a star player, because Shaq really loved Phil Jackson, so the fact that they just went ahead and fired him, that kind of signaled that they were ready to do whatever Kobe wanted, and I'm going to talk about that now. Because one thing I didn't mention earlier is that Kobe Bryant expressed a couple of times that he didn't really like Phil Jackson's offensive scheme, and he said that it didn't really showcase his full talents enough, so this was kind of seen as the Lakers they were pretty much choosing Kobe over Phil Jackson, Shaquille O'Neal, and the whole team. Kobe was their future there. So the other move that seemed to cater to Kobe was the Lakers insisting that Shaq deserved less because he was aging and the injuries were piling up. Shaq, however, felt that he was still able to give top-level contributions to multiple championships and wouldn't take a pay cut. This, combined with the fact that the Lakers weren't bringing back Phil Jackson and with the obvious pandering to Kobe, led Shaq to demand a trade from the Lakers. It's also worth mentioning here that Shaq was a bit pissed that Mitch Kupchak had mentioned him being traded beforehand, so yeah, Shaq was ready to go ahead and go. Just one day after Shaq was traded to the Miami Heat, Kobe signed with the Lakers for $136 million and the duo was officially split. The thing to realize here is that both players were kind of manipulating the Lakers and neither truly ever had any intentions of playing with each other anymore regardless of what they say. Shaq knew that with Kobe's impending free agency, there was no way they could pay him and keep Kobe. Kobe, on the other hand, simply was ready to go in a different direction with his career and he wasn't going to take a pay cut to play with LA, especially if they were going to sign Shaq again. Kobe later admitted in an interview that he was fine with playing with Shaq for all those years that they made it work and they had a great on-court relationship that allowed them to win, but when he started to hear from Shaq and others that he couldn't be successful without him, that's when he made up in his mind that they weren't going to play together forever one way or another. So whether that meant Kobe was going to play for another franchise like the Clippers or Shaq was going to have to leave the team, Kobe was going to have his time to prove that Shaq didn't make a break of his career. If there's anything I hope to accomplish with this video, it's to get NBA fans to stop with all the biased speculation that Kobe's selfishness or Shaq's greed broke up the team, because I noticed that when fans talk about the breakup, they only mention one side of the story that supports whichever player they like. So if they hate Kobe Bryant, they say that he's a selfish player who drove Shaq out of town, and if they like Kobe Bryant, they'll say no, it was Shaq being greedy, when the truth is that, as you saw in this video, it was really both players. They had their own agendas, their own egos, their own beliefs, and then of course at the end of the day, they all had to do what was best for themselves. Like Shaq wanted money and Kobe didn't, he didn't want to be in Shaq's shadow forever. So at the end of the day, it was both of these guys who came together to really break up the duo, and it just was not going to last. And as far as their relationship goes today, these guys are fine. Shaq and Kobe alike have said many times that they respect each other and that they wish their time in LA could have ended differently. One reason they respected each other so much was because they were both straight up guys. Neither of them were going to pull any punches or go behind each other's back talking. Whatever they felt, they had no problem saying to each other's face, and that's actually how they almost got into a fist fight at one point. They took a lot of jabs at each other after they split up, but as Shaq says in an interview with Graham Bensinger, NBA stands for nothing but actors. Their media feud was really nothing but a game at times, and really shouldn't have been treated as any more than that. Now, by no means am I saying they are best friends or that this whole situation didn't get really bad at certain points, but the reality is that the hatchet has long been buried for these two, and all that remains is the dreams of us NBA fans wishing we would have got to witness the continuation of pretty much what would have been the most unstoppable dynasty in NBA history. And that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope if you never really knew the details surrounding why Kobe and Shaq broke up, now you guys know. It was a combination of both of these guys, and no matter how much we wished that we would have saw Kobe and Shaq play together forever, there was absolutely no way with their personalities this was ever going to work. But with the fact that Kobe Bryant didn't wear out until 2013 because of an abrupt injury, and Shaq was still useful all the way up until about, I guess you could say, the year 2008, 2009, man, that was 4 more good years they had at least right there, so sucks we didn't get to see it. Anyways, I'm Dom2K, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. If you know any more about their breakup that I didn't mention, make sure you leave that in the comment section, and I'll look forward to learning about it if I didn't mention it here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.